Like I said, these are the Karmelo Anthony updates.
The Frisco 18-year-old accused of stabbing and killing another student at a track meet was indicted today for first-degree murder. Karmelo Anthony is accused of killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the stadium stands during the April meet. Anthony was 17 at the time and has been charged as an adult. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has more tonight. Amelia.
Now, we all know that's a big difference from being charged as an adult than being charged as a juvenile. That's life. That's life right there. But let's keep going.
Steve, the indictment is the natural next step in any criminal case, and it paves the way for the case to move closer to a potential trial. The Collin County DA's office and Karmelo Anthony's defense attorney released video statements about the indictment. Both shared that they will be ready to present their case in court when the time comes. Tuesday, a Collin County grand jury indicted 18-year-old Karmelo Anthony for first-degree murder. He's accused of stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Frisco ISD track meet earlier this year. Anthony was 17 at the time of the stabbing, and he's being tried as an adult. The Collin County District Attorney's Office released a rare video.
Now, first thing, I'm assuming everybody has been keeping up with this, but the first thing we want to talk about, and first thing I want to say is that we need to teach our kids our kids confrontation, de-escalation tactics. We need to tell them how to de-escalate a situation, how to walk away. A lot of people, they'll feel like, oh, if I walk away, I'm a punk. No, you need to walk away and save your life. The best thing to do is always walk away. Walk away unless you can't. And then that's when you can fight back. Let me zoom out a tad bit. But let's keep going into the video and see what they're talking about.
Statement about the indictment.
When something like this happens at a school event, it shakes people to the core. But let's remember that the justice system works best when it moves with steadiness and principle. That's what we're committed to, and that's what this case deserves.
Anthony's defense attorney also put out a video statement reiterating Anthony's claims that he acted in self-defense.
We expect that when the full story is heard, the prosecution will not be able to rule out the reasonable doubt that Karmelo Anthony may have acted in self-defense.
The case.
Now, self-defense, like I said, they're always going to go for self-defense, the defense attorney. If you follow, we're going to watch the video and they're going to break down what they've seen in the security footage that was taken at the track. But my whole situation is, there was no need to react. The main thing for self-defense is that you felt your life was in danger. We say this all the time. You felt your life was in danger, so you act according to that. If you feel like your life is in danger, you can use deadly force to protect yourself. Yes, I agree with that, of course. Now, being afraid of getting your butt whooped cannot qualify as self-defense. I don't know if that's the situation, but one person had a knife and one person had his fist. I don't know. I can't see self-defense from that. Most people I've seen, the people I watch on YouTube and people I've reviewed do not think that as well. The majority of people. There are some people who will be like, well, he should have never touched him. As a kid, or especially when I was in high school, there was times when we would get in confrontations. The worst thing I was scared of as a kid is getting beat up. I either lose the fight. It was never a thought of, oh, I could get killed or something like that. It was never a thinking in my mind, especially in high school. As an older man, and I've seen how the world has changed. Yes, things have gotten, especially as an adult, things have gotten very dicey out here. But that does not leave it to where you can use deadly force against someone who's not trying to kill you or not trying to harm you in a deadly way. But let's keep going into this and finish up this video so we can move on to the next one.
case has gained national attention and set off a social media firestorm. Much of what's swirling online is misinformation. The full story likely won't come out until a potential trial.
There's certainly a lot more to learn. The indictment really focuses on what we would call the elements of a crime.
Russell Wilson is a former Dallas County prosecutor who's not involved in this case. He says the misinformation could be one reason why both sides chose to record statements on such a procedural matter.
I just think it's a reflection of the serious nature of the case and the heightened public interest.
Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, sent us a statement about the indictment. It says, quote, "I am pleased that we are moving forward. With the first-degree murder indictment, it now goes into the court system. I fully believe that justice will be served for Austin Metcalf. I look forward to the forthcoming trial, but it will never bring back my son. It will be up to the court to..."
That is the main thing that, as the family members, you gotta understand. It's no matter what everything goes through, you want the person who was responsible to face justice. But at the end of the day, it's not going to bring your son back. Tragic. But you heard what they said a little while ago. Misinformation. That is the main thing that I don't like. There's a lot of misinformation going around about people who've come and talked to the police, witnesses. We don't know. The police haven't issued anything. The only thing they've issued so far is the track meet footage. So they haven't issued about any witnesses who are coming forward. So we have to wait for the trial and to get all that information. So it's tragic. But let's finish up this video. I remember we talked about it the other day, or not the other day, probably about a few weeks ago. They just mentioned Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf. It's still crazy to me that if you haven't seen that video of where I think he's a pastor. No, I don't know what he is. Minister, Dominic, the dude who held the press conference for when the Karmelo Anthony's family first finally did a press release. And they ended up kicking Jeff Metcalf out of the press release. Now, main thing for that, I didn't think it was right to kick him out. He was literally just sitting there listening to what they had to say. But at the end of the day, it was private property, so he had the right to ask him to leave at any time he wanted to. It's just what it is. But he ended up saying that it's a disgrace to his son that he showed up. That doesn't make any sense to me. If my son was unalived by your son and then you holding a press conference, I would like to be at the press conference. It's not like I'm not gonna jump out and go crazy. He's very calm, but that still doesn't sit right with me. So I don't know where he is. I remember I reviewed a video that he was explaining what was going on, but it still didn't make any sense to me. But let's keep going.
Set a date for the trial. In the meantime, the defense and prosecution will prepare their cases. The defense will see what information the state has gathered and will do their own investigation.
Certainly, there will be a lot more things happening in between now and then, but certainly when the jury trial does come, the world will be watching.
The whole world will be watching. It became everyone in the world. I don't know about the world, but everyone in the United States was talking about this. They are talking about, now some people are for it and some people are against it. Or some people agree with what Karmelo Anthony did and some people are against it, which I am one of those who are against what Karmelo Anthony did, and I think he should be in jail. Commit a crime, you should do the time. So we heard that all our lives. You need to be able to de-escalate the situation and just don't jump to violence. It's the simple thinking to me. Simple thinking. But it is a wild situation and everybody's going to be keeping track. And also I'm going to be keep track of it so I can create videos and we can talk about it together. So but let's finish up this video. We got a little bit more, see what they're going to say.
Anthony is currently monitored on house arrest after his bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. If convicted, Anthony could get life in prison. Steve, back to you.
Life in prison. Life in prison. That is insane. To ruin your life at 17 years old because you couldn't control your emotions, and now you're facing life in prison. Now, we're going to bring this up again. Some people were upset because the bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. Doesn't really matter to me. Bond is never meant to keep someone in jail. It's just meant to make sure that they show up to court. So it didn't really matter that it was reduced. The main thing I'm glad to see is that it was a first-degree murder charge. That was the main thing. I didn't want to see manslaughter or anything like that, because it did not seem to me that there was any self-defense in this. But we got to wait to see what the trial brings and what evidence that the defense attorney brings forward to prove their case. Now, I don't know what evidence they're going to bring, so all we can do is wait and see. But we're going to jump into the next video. Like I said, we're going to talk about how CBS, I believe it was CBS that mentioned, let's see, CBS mentioned, oh, no, Fox. No, what is this? Yep, CBS. CBS did a take on the restricted video that was released about the stabbing. So they break it down a little bit about what they've seen in it and basically what they've seen. So let's jump right into that.
Frisco ISD is releasing surveillance video of the stabbing at the track meet that led to the death of a student back in April, but only under very strict conditions. So through open records, they will allow whoever requests it to view that video, but no recording whatsoever is allowed. On that note, we sent our I-Team producer, Kelsey Mittauer, to watch that video. She joins us now in studio to walk us through what you saw. We're going to go in order here in just a second, Kelsey, but in general terms, what did the video depict? What did you see?
It shows everything from the moments leading up to the stabbing, to the medical response, to then the beginning of the police investigation.
Okay, and it lasted several minutes is what they showed you.
It did, about 30 minutes.
Okay, so let's start in the beginning now and talk a little bit about what you saw at the front end of that video, because you got to see the attack, the actual stabbing took place.
So I started watching about 9:53. The camera shows half of the field. So it's about from the 50-yard line on, and the tent where it happened was kind of right in front of the 50-yard line, but the camera is down here. Okay. It's positioned across the field. So everybody in the video, you can tell they are kids or adults, but no one's identifiable.
So a long shot is what
a long shot, yeah.
So a couple of minutes in, and you actually see the altercation take place.
Yes, everything leading up to it, everyone's milling about. It seems very normal, and then right at 9:55, that's when there's this explosive movement or action between two people under the tent, and that's when the employees in the room told me that's when the stabbing happened at 9:55.
Right, and you were talking about people kind of start to scatter at that moment. Obviously, something went wrong. And so what happens next? Because now, a little bit later on, that's when the ambulance shows up. Right.
So when the ambulance arrives, it actually comes through near the end zone at the gate, and then it comes up to the 50-yard line directly in front of the tent. You can see Austin Metcalf is right here. But then when they pull up close to the tent, they realize that they can't get the stretcher to him because of the barrier of the bleachers. So at that point, then the paramedics have to get out, and then they have to walk all the way back to the end zone. This is actually, in the next slide. They have to go all the way back to the end zone and then come all the way back. That takes another couple of minutes. So at this point, they've arrived and they are actively working on Metcalf at that point.
And we want to reiterate, we're using some imagery here to sort of denote exactly what was happening here, these little icons that were using the ambulance, because again, the video was not able to be released. You're watching all of this happen, Kelsey, and you're watching the time sort of elapse. What are you thinking about when you see this, especially when you see sort of the issues in getting Metcalf out of there?
I mean, I understand why it happened the way it happened. They were still working on him, actually. The thing that really struck me is they're working on him, and that's when you see the rain's coming down heavier, and then they actually pull out the blue tarp.
The blue tarp that we saw.
Right, and then I noticed the crime scene tape is already up. I was so focused on here, I didn't even see that, but they're building the crime scene actively around him as they're continuing to work on him in the bleachers.
So that was happening while he was still there?
Yes, he's in in the bleachers.
And in closing here, because we know that several minutes had elapsed, and people are sort of scurrying in different areas, what do we know about the suspect in the stabbing, Karmelo Anthony, and his whereabouts?
So I asked the women in the room, the employees, I said, of everybody on this screen, is Karmelo Anthony in here? And they said, you know, we couldn't tell you, we don't know. And honestly, it was so hard. Once it happened, you know, there's people going this way, that way, this way, and this way. So it was just hard to know what direction he headed.
All right, Kelsey, thank you very much for describing that for us. We appreciate it. We should let you know that the case...
Now, that is wild. It's crazy that it took that long to get to him. I don't know if that had an effect, but he basically stabbed him in the chest. So, but let's there's something. So let's hear about
video, but no recording what's in studio. What did the video depict? What'd you see?
It shows everything from the moments leading up to the stabbing to the medical response to then the beginning of the police investigation.
Okay, and it lasted several minutes is what they showed you.
It did, about 30 minutes.
Okay, so let's start in the beginning now and talk a little bit about what you saw at the front end of that video, because you got to see
Yeah, I want to see what they can't see it, obviously. They can't see everything, but the main thing is I remember everyone's talking about how Austin Metcalf and his brother was about to jump Karmelo. So that was one of the theories that was going around. Misinformation going around that people were saying, oh no, they was about to jump him. There's witnesses saying, oh, the two people were about to jump him.
The attack, the actual stabbing
took
place.
So it starts, I started watching about 9:53. The camera shows half of the field. So it's about from the 50-yard line on, and the tent where it happened was kind of right in front of the 50-yard line, but the camera is down here.
Okay.
It's positioned across the field. So everybody in the video, you can tell they are kids or adults, but no one's identifiable.
So a long shot is what
a long shot, yeah.
So a couple of minutes in, and you actually see the altercation take place.
Yes, everything leading up to it, everyone's milling about. It seems very normal.
So everyone's going about very nonchalantly, like a game. They're just chilling out, relaxing. And then
And then right at 9:55, that's when like there's this explosive movement or action between two people.
Mm-hmm. So two people. So it doesn't, based on what she witnessed from the video footage, that it wasn't. It doesn't seem like it was two people jumping Karmelo Anthony. So that theory is, to me, is going out the water, because it says two people ended up confronting each other and confronting each other. See, I almost messed up. Confronting each other. And then that's where the whole thing where Karmelo, Metcalf told Karmelo Anthony, can't sit here, get up. And then the whole thing went from there. But all we can do, like I said, all we can do is wait for more information to come out about this. We don't know much. They can't, it's not even a good video footage. I don't know. We don't know if there's any camera footage of what happened. Someone took a smartphone footage and released it to the police. We don't know that. The only way we'll know, or may know, is when the trial comes out. So that's all we can wait for. But that's it for the Karmelo Anthony updates. Like I said, I'm going to keep everyone updated. I'm going to keep following this trial when the trial comes up. I don't know how long it's going to take for the trial to come, but we're going to keep following up with everything and then just try to understand, and maybe we might get some insight on what Karmelo Anthony was thinking. He's probably going to take the stand eventually to talk about how he felt threatened. That's how you always do if you feel in self-defense, but we'll wait and see that. We're going to wait and see. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the Word. Remember to like and subscribe.